Soldiers, sailors, airmen and women enlist in the armed forces for many reasons, including a sense of duty, patriotism, the adventure, travel, and adrenaline. When service members are injured or wounded and can no longer perform their military duties, they quickly find themselves removed from their team, no longer serving the purpose for which they trained.
I came back from Afghanistan in 2013, and it was kind of a trial and error of finding out, after the military, what's next in life.
Motorsports offers an opportunity to regain that sense of identity within a safe, fast-paced team environment, providing a renewed sense of purpose. Like in the military, in motorsports, the goal is in accomplishing the mission, winning as a team, collectively celebrating the successes and supporting teammates through the losses. Operation Motorsport also offers virtual engagements and recovery opportunities through an iRacing league, engaging beneficiaries in a safe, competitive environment from the comfort and safety of their home. Operation Motorsport believes in the power of team, identity, and purpose.
Hello, this is Jason with Operation Motorsport. We'd like to introduce you to some of our beneficiaries who were active during the GT World Challenged SRO race at New Orleans Motorsport Park this past weekend.
This weekend I've been working with Steve over on GT4 and with Charlie over on the TC cars, doing the tech inspections for them, checking the ride height, weight, camber, and also the tire pressure and things like that. When they come back from the races, then the top 3 or top 5, depending on the class, have to come through and get everything checked all over again to make sure that they ran the race within the regulations. Sometimes we have to pull some parts and measure those. It all depends on what comes down from the technical director. Operation Motorsport has actually done a lot for me in a really short period of time. It's pretty amazing to feel part of a team again and have some kind of a purpose. It's really, really amazing. And the value for me, at least, it goes way beyond just oh, it's very cool that I'm learning how to do ride height on cars. Yeah. That is absolutely not the main value for me.
Yeah.
You feel like you got some worth, man.
Yeah,
worth something. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know. In here, I feel like I can contribute. I mean, it's not a big contribution, but it doesn't matter. Even in the military, somebody's got to get the food ready. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I can help here. I can do stuff. I can learn stuff. Yeah. People are patient. Nobody acts like I'm stupid if I ask a silly question. Yeah. I'm learning, you know? And it feels really nice to be somewhere where I can learn something that I'm actually interested in and feel a part of a team and there's people I can count on, things like that.
Well, I think
so. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's done a lot for me.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the 8th and final round of the 5th season of the Operation E-Motorsport iRacing League, live from iRacing's virtual circuit park Zandvoort in Zandvoort, Netherlands. I'm your host, Rachel Wyford. Joining me is my colleague in the booth tonight, and also our producer for this evening, Joshua Lee. Josh is using cameras created by the great Dougie Beard. Well, welcome to this beautiful, beautiful track here. We're going to have a wonderful finale tonight. It's an hour long, rather than our usual 30 minutes, so rather than one pit stop, oh boy, we get two. It's double the fun. It's going to be exciting. They're still running on a 30-40% fuel limit, so will make things quite interesting for us tonight in terms of how that one operates. Weather is looking good. 5 mile an hour winds, about 50% humidity, and it's about 74 Fahrenheit in the air, 76 on the track. Clear skies, so it's going to be a very exciting race. Josh, tell us a little bit more about Zandvoort.
Well, this track most recently in the real world really upgraded and, of course, brought a Formula One weekend here to Zandvoort, and a distinct lack of the Max Verstappen Orange Army here in the virtual version of Zandvoort. But this is a bit of an older scan, still the same general layout, just a little bit of the different curb things and runoff areas are just a little bit different in the real world now versus here in the sim. But it is a very interesting track to go racing on, especially in these GT cars. I mean, when I think of this course, I think of very tight portions of the course, very thin track, a lot of hard braking zones that are easy in open wheel cars or easy in Formula One, not so easy in the Gran Turismo GT3, GT4 cars.
Absolutely not. Well, take a look at our classes for tonight. As always, we have three. The Pro class with blue, those are GT3 cars, competition license holders, past and present, and iRacers with a road rating above 1900. Then we have the two GT3 cars, so GT4 classes, I should say. Open, which is active service members and Operation Motorsport supporters. And we have, of course, the GT4 beneficiary class. Those are people who are supported by Operation Motorsport and part of one of their programs. So we'll be focusing, as always, on them tonight. And, well, we are up for a good one tonight. We've got qualifying underway here at Zandvoort. Guys out on track are going to be setting those laps very shortly. But we also have the opportunity tonight to talk to Diesel Loader. I believe he will be ready for us in just a moment, I'm hoping. Let's see if he is good to go. Diesel, do we got you? Believe we might. Oh, we do have Diesel. Hi, Diesel.
Hey, Rachel, how are you?
I am fantastic. So, of course, just for an introduction's sake, you are Diesel Loader, of course, the CEO of Operation Motorsport. We're incredibly glad to have you here to talk to us tonight. And we've got a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind.
No worries. I'm happy.
Awesome.
Happy to
well,
be on.
First off, tell us about who you are and how Operation Motorsport got started.
So I'm Diesel Otter, co-founder and CEO. And funny story about how all this started. I spent 35 years in the airborne, retired 7 years ago, and I used motorsport as my transition vessel out of the military and into civilian life. And the next funny bit about that is that we're actually going back to the place where it all started in 2016, back to Anglesey, back to the Race of Remembrance, where I went with Tiffany, and in 2016, and we were spectators, and we were so impressed by what Mission Motorsport was accomplishing through motorsport as a form of recovery that we said, we need to bring people back to this from North America. And we never in our wildest dreams thought we would actually start a not-for-profit and then go back and compete. And now 5 years, almost 6 years on, we're returning. This will be our fifth time going, and this time, we're returning to Anglesey with two proper race cars, a total of almost 40 people, 13 of them beneficiaries, our first beneficiary drivers. It's just amazing what we've accomplished.
An absolutely incredible growth for the organization, and a huge thing to go back to where it all started, of course, for you. with that in mind, obviously Operation Motorsport has grown significantly. Tell us a little about how Operation Motorsport is today and what it is currently.
So today, we stuck to what our original sort of vision was, and that was recovery through motorsport. But I think the way that we deliver it has definitely evolved. At first we would just embed beneficiaries into a race team for one race, maybe two. We never had these relationships that we have now with teams, and the majority of our beneficiaries that are in the motorsport immersion program end up staying with the team for, if not the entire race season, for the better part of a race season. And of course, at the beginning, we never had e-motorsport. We never had iRacing. That thanks to COVID, we had to pivot. And from the iRacing and e-motorsport, we developed Academy, and we've now got driver development, which saw its first 5 candidates go through, and 2 of those candidates will be driving in the Race of Remembrance, which is a first for us as well, actually having beneficiary drivers. So that's a huge growth for us. And of course, diversionary therapy in itself has grown. We never imagined that we would have car corrals at all of the race weekends with 100 plus participants at these race events. So that's really a huge leap forward for us in the last couple of years.
I think absolutely incredible service really you guys actually offer there for veterans, of course. What does the future hold for Operation Motorsport?
It's funny, I was just talking to Chris Ramirez about that very thing, and the things where we're going in the future, it's really exciting. Some of it I can't talk about right now, and that's kind of frustrating. And people will understand why we can't talk about some of these things that we'll be doing, but we'll definitely be taking huge steps forward from where we are today. The one thing I can talk about is obviously, first of all, the relationship that we have with Skip Barber, which is going to continue to grow. Skip Barber Racing School has been so instrumental in a lot of the places that we now operate, whether it's in SRO or through our driver development. And then, of course, our latest partnership, which is a multi-year strategic partnership with CrowdStrike. The CrowdStrike Foundation was very generous. And along with that, in the future, it'll provide a whole bunch of opportunities beyond just the financial fiscal support that they're going to give us. It's going to include having the CrowdStrike veterans volunteer at our events. It's going to include having CrowdStrike employees mentoring beneficiaries. It's going to include beneficiaries having the opportunity to apply for positions at CrowdStrike, and a host of other areas that they're going to help support the organization in this multi-year partnership, which of course we hope is just going to continue to grow and flourish.
I think we all share that same hope with you. My next question was going to be, is there anything you're particularly excited about coming up in the future here? But I believe you've either answered that or you can't tell us just yet. So instead, I will ask you one thing. As a service member yourself, as a veteran yourself, from the heart, what's this done for you? What do you think you're hoping to achieve for the people you help?
Well, the funny thing about the program is that what I'm achieving. The satisfaction, the personal satisfaction of helping so many of these individuals that struggle from day to day, and then for me to look back and say, I can honestly say that this program, the foundation, has probably helped me as much as it's helped them, and it continues to help me every day. You know, you reflect on where you are, where you were, and where you see yourself. And I'm a winner in all this personally, and it just gives me such great satisfaction to see that pay off for other individuals.
An incredibly insightful look into that, and we do thank you for joining us, Diesel. Now we've got the end of qualifying here, so we will take a little break. We are going to hopefully have another chat to you later in the race. I look forward to that. But for now, we'll say goodbye and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you later.
My pleasure. See you in a bit.
See you in a bit. Well, folks, we've got qualifying at an end here for the moment, and we will hopefully be able to get a chance to chat to Diesel later on. We'll take a look at those cars. They're on the grid now, ready for the pace lap. So we're going to go through your starting grid. On the pole for the pros tonight, Ed Nelson with Martin Wallace behind him. Matt Smotherman in third with Tyler Guillemette in fourth. Hunter Reeve fifth, Joe Stiffel in sixth, Rodney Campbell seventh, Jason McSparron in eighth place. Ninth place is Scott Andrews. For your open class, it was going to be Dan Fendrick with, I believe, Mary Gonzalez is after him actually there. Then we have Jesse Elliott. And then for the beneficiaries, Adam Poppenhouse, Connor Parisi with Greg Meismer. And then we have Thomas Outson, Rick Haslett, Val Asensio, Tyler Reed, Brian Winker, which is going to be then, I believe, Adam Benaway for our USO guest driver in the 29 machine. Beneficiaries, John Winker. We have Mike Sachs there, who I believe is an open driver, I think. And we have Brian Knight, Philip Chartier, Elliot Whitfield, Charles Burchell, and Jake Porter. Chris Ramirez, as always, isn't driving. One day we have to make him. I think that would be fantastic. We'll have to get Chris in a car on the track and see just how he plays off against the rest of these guys. But getting ready to pull away here. And Josh, Zandvoort is a tricky circuit, especially for GT cars, but it certainly makes for interesting racing. It's a narrow track with a lot of undulation, a lot of tight twisting switchbacks. It will make for quite a challenge, especially for an hour.
Yeah, and I think the 1 hour part is going to be the real challenging bit because, I mean, not only are we going to have, more than one pit stop tonight, we're looking at maybe 2 or 3, depending on how much fuel these drivers are burning inside of their cars. But I just think getting around this circuit for 60 minutes is going to be challenging just in general, physically, mentally for each of these drivers in the field. This is not an easy course, and having to do it for a long period of time, that's only going to make it even more tough as the drivers work their way through the full hour.
It certainly will, of course, and we are expecting 2 pit stops, as we mentioned, which will make this a much more tactical race. When do you stop? When do you decide to go for that? That'll be a big deciding factor here as we are in the dunes here of the Netherlands. And the crazy Dutch people with their incredible desire for clogs and daffodils and various other forms of entertainment that I won't go into in this broadcast. It is hopefully going to be quite an interesting race. A fantastic location for it, and this track really does challenge these GT cars, and we'll have a fantastic time. Now, the Dutch are incredibly welcoming as a people. Absolutely have loved all of them I've met, and the places here. Everyone's so friendly. A great place for such a friendly, supportive series as the Operation E-Motorsport iRacing series here for these guys, and a big finale in just the way they deserve. A huge finale for these guys. We'll have to see what will happen as well, because I'm so surprised here, Josh. Ed Nelson and Martin Wallace out qualifying Smotherman and Guillemette here, who have been 2 of our hard chargers in pro.
And that's going to make a very interesting start here because we know Smotherman, we know Guillemette, both incredibly quick. How aggressive are they going to want to be to get by Wallace and Nelson in front? And can the 996 and the 666 pull away at the start of this race? It's only one thing to be fast in hot laps. Now can they be fast in race trim?
We'll have to see if they can pull that one off. It's going to be a tough race for them. Coming through Marlborough right now. Those corners a little dated, I think, given that it's probably not called that anymore. But we have Renault coming up just here. They're coming through, transitioning up towards Vodafone and down to the Audi S. And it's Hunsrud, which is the big kind of key shape almost we have in Kumhulbach. As I really suck at pronouncing Dutch words. They are a mouthful, and I do not possess enough phlegm. Then we have Arie Leuvenhoek. Again, yes, I'm just going to call them Turn 13 instead. It's much safer for me, I think. as we come through now here. Getting ready for the start of the race. The pace car will pull off as soon as it gets to the front straight there, and we'll be set up for a big run. It's going to be one of the danger zones down here as we set up for the race, and we'll see what these guys can pull off. Any predictions, Josh?
I think I want to say that Smotherman and Guillemette are going to pull away and be the top two off of this start, but I mean, I have trouble saying that with the speed that Ed Nelson and the speed that Martin Wallace did put out in qualifying. But I mean, looking back to the GT4 field, I mean, we talked about the Open, talked about the beneficiary class. How about Jesse Elliott qualifying on the pole there, and then Poppenhaus out qualifying Connor Parise, who's been another one of the very, very quick drivers when it comes to the GT4 class this season. So what can Parisi do against not only a faster Jesse Elliott in qualifying, but also a faster Adam Poppenhaus, and of course Meismer, Outson, Haslett, they're all very, very quick in those GT4s.
Yeah, they certainly are. So we'll have to see how this one shakes through. I believe there's a bit of a time and scoring thing there with Dan Fendick showing up as a open driver, even though I believe he is in fact a pro driver. He's running in the GT3 Porsche today. So we'll see this one play through. Coming to the final corner now. We'll get ourselves ready for an hour of racing here at Circuit Park Zandvoort here on the coast of the North Sea, which is, trust me, nothing like any American coast where you've got lovely warm waters and sharks and alligators and Florida man. No, this is the North Sea. It's got oil and it's got misery. But either way, we're getting racing here. Pace car will come down pit road, which is also a challenge here. Look at that kink in the pit road wall there. It is absolutely horrendous to try and get in there at speed. Even the pace car gets drunk sometimes and hits the wall. Green flag flies. Off we go here for the final round of Season 5. Ed Nelson leads the pack towards the first corner, and behind them, Jesse Elliott will lead his group down, and there's a big, big group towards the front here. Elliott, Poppenhaus, Parisi, Meismer, Outson, on a tight knot there with the leaders up in the Pro Series, also doing the same thing. Coming down that first chute here into the track proper. Lots and lots of congestion. A small track here does make it incredibly challenging.
Getting away well was Ed Nelson, who's going to take the early lead, with Smotherman now up to second. Wallace going to lose a spot to third, as side by side between Chartier and Winker. Chartier going to gain that spot into 12th in the GT4. Still side by side, Porsche and a BMW. That's Mike Sachs and Brian Winker. As they work their way through, Poppenhaus was able to get the lead of that GT4 group as Jesse Elliott falls to second, and Connor Parisi not able to make up any spots on the start in that Jim Beaver Esports entry. He still sits there as we've got a tangle up between Knight and Winker.
We certainly do. Oh, some issues happening there. We'll have to see what happened to those guys. I believe that's going to be Brian Winker involved there. No, it's not actually. It's the other Winker. John Winker, yeah, happening towards the back there. That was in Marlborough, I believe, where that incident occurred. Little bit of a tizzy. A bit of just a coming together on the corner. We've got the replay for you here. You'll see them coming up into the turning point and just contact as they come into that line. Yeah, racing will happen. Unfortunately, it's just a running out of racetrack sort of situation there. Towards the front, Ed Nelson's leading the way by a good margin here. Martin Wallace has dropped back a little bit. Matt Smotherman, big jump by him. Poor qualifying, fast race pace. He's second place in hunting down Ed Nelson. Behind them, though, it is, a big slip up there by the car of Jesse Elliott coming to the final corner. That has really put them in a rough spot. 3 wide across the line here for your 2 GT4 classes into that first corner now. Really poor exit from the corner. Allowed some of these guys to really catch up. He's dropped back to 3rd place already. Poppenhaus, Meismer, and Parisi got passed by the line, technically. So definitely a big change in that one. In fact, actually, Poppenhaus has gotten a good gap on them, so he was already in first place. That was earlier in the lap. Coming up now towards the back stretch of the track here and back towards Marlborough again. One of the longest corners on this circuit. We definitely see a lot of this intermingled fighting here between the 2 GT4 classes, Joshua. Obviously, racing separate races, they are not in the same fight, but I think it's a point of pride between the 2 GT4 fields that they want to see who comes home first, never mind whether it's a beneficiary or a supporter.
And the GT4 is always a race non-stop, as here comes the 25 of Jesse Elliott. He wants his spots back, and he's got Connor Parisi to try and go through. as they work their way now through the left-hander of turn 7. It'll spit them back out, or turn 10, excuse me. That'll spit them back out onto this back straightaway of sorts down into the complex of 11, 12, and 13. One of the most difficult left-handers to get right, as Elliott gonna have to settle for 4th in the GT4s. As Parisi all over the back bumper of Meismer as well, with Adam Poppenhaus looking in his mirror right now. Rachel loving that battle that he's seeing between his fellow GT4s behind. He's able to pull away to the tune of about 1.2 seconds right now.
Absolutely. Poppenhaus having a great run here. The Army veteran really has been one of our fastest guys all season, and he's really showing that today. He's managed to find some good speed in this one, up 2 spots from where he started. Another poor qualifying comparatively to what we see him do in terms of speed. And as I just keep my eyes towards the front of our field, we are seeing some of them catching up, but nowhere near yet. Keep our eyes on this battle here at the front of the beneficiary and open fields. That is Poppenhaus, Meismer, Parisi, Elliott there, Utzon, and behind them is going to be Benway. A lot of these guys try to work their way around here, work out where they're going to position in this race so far. Guillemette there, that's going to be in 5th place, 4th in the grid. He's dropped back 1 from where he started. Looking towards the rear end there, the very colourful rear end of Martin Wallace, who himself started in 2nd place, so there's been a bit of a shuffle already.
Then Guillemette still all over the back bumper of Martin Wallace. Guillemette lost spots off of the initial start and now sits relatively further back the field as Tyler Reed and Jake Porter got into it here in one of the final corners on the racetrack, as Wallace able to keep Guillemette behind as well. As we'll grab a look, see what happened to Tyler Reed and Jake Porter here, both of them getting tangled up.
Yeah, they certainly are there. Have to see them shake this one through, as replay shows us what occurred.
Oh.
And it's just going to be an outbraking moment there, causing a little bit of rear end contact. So not a passing attempt, just wasn't predicting him to brake so early, unfortunately. Results in cars spinning out, but at least he slowed down as well after the contact and didn't just roll on through. The respectful thing to do there, of course. The guy's running back again. I believe that's going to be Wallace, I think we're seeing there. That is Wallace running through here, Guillemette behind him. Still looking for the opportunity to pass here. I'll have to see if he can find that chance.
I mentioned that Guillemette lost spots off of the start. Well, he did only lose 1. Martin Wallace lost 2. He started up in P2 on the initial start, and now falling back into P4. Ed Nelson exactly where he started, and that Porsche has pulled away since the start, with Matt Smotherin gaining 1 spot. Hunter Reeve able to gain 2 from 5th. So top 5 here in the GT3s, really shuffling around a lot. But at this stage, they're shuffled around and spreading out, as you have to look back about 2.5 seconds from Hunter Reeve to find the battle between Wallace and Guillemette, which is about to be met by Joe Stifle and Rodney Campbell, who've been battling for 6th.
It absolutely is. Well, hopefully we'll get another chance to chat to Diesel here, the CEO of Operation Motorsport. He's joining us once again in the booth here for a little bit more of a casual chat as the race goes on. Diesel, do we got you with us? Think he might be away from his brain at the moment, so we'll hopefully get a chance to speak to him in a second. But as it stands, the race is unfolding now. We're getting a little bit of a quieter moment for a second. We have Diesel with us now. Poppenhaus making that gap. He's been caught up by Meismer and Parisi and Elliott, but we'll keep our eyes on that as we talk, though. Diesel, I'm very glad to have you back.
Glad to be back, Rachel.
Awesome. So, obviously, one of the themes we've talked about this season when it comes to Operation Motorsport has been the general mission, as it were, of the small team environment of motor racing, and how that has serious analogs when it comes to the military world, and just how that has helped a lot of people finding that grounding, finding that sense of belonging once they enter Sippy Street. They're no longer within that structure, within that team, within that kind of bond. What, obviously, I'm sorry, I could literally explain the same thing to you again, but is it that drive to achieve a common goal that made motorsport so attractive?
Partially, yes. What makes motorsport so attractive is that small team, and the fact that the small team is deploying very similar to what a lot of military members are used to, from deployments, whether it be on exercise or operations. It's everybody has a role. You're trained to do a job, and you have your small team. Your fire team partner's got your 6, and you've got everybody else's 6, and you go somewhere, and everybody has to sleep somewhere, eat somewhere, and do all the other things that sort of happen at a racetrack as well. And when we embed beneficiaries into teams, that's the first thing that they have to have. Is they have to have a purpose, a reason for being there, even if it's as simple as keeping the car clean or the tires, but it's having that purpose.
That's an aspect I never actually thought about, weirdly enough, that it is like a mini deployment. So, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Obviously, let's just not be coy about things. There are a lot of people that come back from deployments into combat theatres with either physical injuries or the mental scars. This environment of like-minded people in the same boat, and people working together, it solves the scars, does it not?
It does. Unfortunately, there are so many people now that have the invisible scars. So many of our beneficiaries suffer through operational stress injuries, whether it's PTSD and some other form of operational stress. The ones that frustrate me are the traumatic brain injuries. Those are the ones that are so hard for people to understand the difference, and they are so different, but yet it's still part of the brain. And the sad part is that there is no real recovery from all these traumatic brain injuries. And it's so different than somebody, not to single anybody out, but for instance, in Adam, Poppenhaus, who you look at Adam and he's a double amputee. And people say, oh, I understand what's wrong. When somebody has a traumatic brain injury, things don't quite click right anymore, and there's nothing they can do about that, and that really makes me sad. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's not really something a lot of people outside of that universe can get their heads around, especially when it comes to things like, obviously, you talk about traumatic brain injuries, things like breacher syndrome, guys who've been through so many concussions, so many nearby blasts,
right,
that their personality shifts, and the people at home won't necessarily understand it, and friends and colleagues in the civilian world aren't going to understand it because it's such a dramatic difference of environment. And this is the sacrifice of service members. This is what they do for their country. This is what it's for. It's for your country, for your family, for your friends. And it's not their fault that they don't understand in some cases. It's not something they're expected to even, you hope, they ever have to think about.
Right. And the thing that a lot of people don't understand is that service members, it's the only profession that signs unlimited liability. Not even police officers sign away unlimited liability. And that's a huge sacrifice for people. And I honestly think that not everybody even understands what they're signing when they do that. I mean, we always say people join the military for one reason and stay for another in a lot of cases. But that's a big signature that you make, understanding that really bad things might happen. And I think we're here to hopefully help support some of those people that have not come away from that experience unscathed. And quite frankly, I don't think anybody who serves any length of time in the military ever comes away completely unscathed anyway.
No, that's an incredibly true point there. Keep your eyes just, by the way, on this battle for the top of your open and beneficiary classes here. And it is a great thing, I think, about this series that we see active service members as well racing alongside, the veterans. Here in Operation Motorsport, there is no dividing line. They are one and the same. They're still the family.
And what makes it incredible is I'm looking at that leader chart, and you know, I got to spend a part of the weekend with a bunch of people that are actually right out there racing, and I saw Matt Smotherman, and you know, he spent the weekend in race control of all places with SRO for the 8-hour Indy race, and Matt got to sit right seat in the safety car for a race on Saturday where he was a communicator. And then we were all invited to the gala at the end, so the year-end gala for SRO, and everybody that had a uniform that still fit wore the uniform on Sunday night. And I believe there was 8 of us in our dress blues, as they call them, or scarlets, as I was in. And it certainly did not go unnoticed by the folks that were there. Because I don't think a lot of people in SRO actually knew there was that many beneficiaries embedded within the series, and that opened their eyes.
Yeah, just for clarification's sake, folks, Matt Smotherman and Hunter Reeve, both up in the pro class right now, are both beneficiaries of Operation Motorsport. They're up in pro because they're too darn fast. Yeah. So they got moved up out of the way so they can race with the faster guys up there. But no, it is an incredible thing, and seeing that kind of the way that, in fact, not just your organization but other organizations of a similar ilk involved in motorsport have, that the general motorsport community has embraced these organizations in such a positive and welcoming way. Maybe it's that kind of spirit of the campaigner, I think, that, you know, teams in motorsport have, that the military have, that small team kind of fight. It has a common bond in a sort of way. And whilst race car drivers and teams don't, you know, sign away their lives, they're definitely not keeping it entirely safe either. So there's a bit of a kinship, I think.
That's absolutely true, and it's kind of funny because it's kind of like the Air Force. You know, the Air Force sends their officers into battle, and it is kind of the same in racing. You know, the race car driver, you know, is usually the bougie guy on the team, and everybody, you know, the fighting troops behind the race car driver, they're sending that race car driver into battle and standing there ready to assist when needed.
Yeah, absolutely. It is exactly that way. In fact, it's almost the same way with knights of old with their retinues. There's always the knight that went off to fight, and the paupers that stayed behind, of course. In the rather, well, actually, no, they didn't. Most of the case, they were there with a sword trying to keep people away. But we moved in a slightly different direction there. Now, obviously, you served a long career in the military, and obviously, you know, life has changed throughout that period, and has motorsport been something you were always interested in, or is this something that came along later throughout your career?
My father and I enjoyed sports cars. I was always a fan of motorsports. I bought the same 911 that I'm driving today. I bought in Germany in '89, and it was a little bit gently used SC. And today it's an outlaw car. So back in those days, I was racing it in autocross. So yes, always been a fan of sports cars. I can relate to sports cars. And I think that's why we, you know, came into this whole sports car. Besides the fact that the teams are friendlier and easier to get into. But sports cars is so relatable to people because, you know, if you drive a Ford Mustang, there's a chance you're going to see a Mustang racing, and you can cheer for that Mustang. So it's easy to get people excited about what's on the racetrack, and I think that's what, I mean, a lot of guys like me joined the military for that adrenaline rush. I was 17 years old at the time, and this is the same thing. You know, the Brits call it the shiny bits. James Cameron, one of the terms I'll always remember. You know, the race cars on the racetrack are the shiny bits, and that's what we get, how we get these guys interested in coming out. It's that noise and the speed and all the rest of that goes with it.
So a little bit. Oh, go on.
It's just trickery. It's tomfoolery. It's how we get them on board.
I mean, it does work. I was going to ask a sillier question, but I'll ask a more serious one here. Obviously, I think the part that Operation E Motorsport in specific, we've got our first sequence of pit stops coming in here, by the way, folks. Got those on the screen for you right now. But obviously, the effect that Operation E Motorsport has had for you as an organization, I think cannot be understated. In that, whilst COVID sucked for all of us, in no untoward terms, it was horrible for everybody in the world. It's been especially difficult for the people that you as an organization help, the beneficiaries, because when we're all isolated, we're all keeping away from people, we're all in our little bubbles. It is especially torturous for people that have had to give so much of their life to a small team, to brothers and sisters in arms, to being right there with other people, to be suddenly alone. You know, to have something like Operation E Motorsport, I think, can't be understated as a powerful saving tool.
Absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, what COVID showed us is that those people that suffer in silence from things like, you know, anxiety, and then closing them off to the world just amplifies the need to be in contact with other people. And we found that doing it virtually, it's funny, we actually didn't start off, you know, thinking we were going to go iRacing. We actually started off doing Friday afternoon 5 o'clock happy hours. We would do a big Zoom happy hour. We even did Zoom Christmas parties, just anything to get our benefit, just stay connected. I mean, we even felt disconnected, away from it all, and we found that this sort of helped a little bit, kept people connected. And then, just by chance, I happened to look at the whole iRacing thing and challenged Jason. I said, let's put this together. Let's see where we can take this. And again, we never had, in our wildest dreams did we think that we'd be 5 seasons in and have such a strong league with such quality drivers, and everybody respecting each other, and people actually coming out to events because of this. This was, this is their gateway in, and it's had such a positive effect on the programs.
That is an incredibly profound way to put it. I won't take up too much more of your time, Diesel. I've got one final question for you here. It's the slightly silly one I was going to ask. Obviously, with more drivers getting behind the wheel, and more beneficiaries getting behind the wheel, I should say, have you ever had, or do you plan to ever put a Marine behind the wheel?
Say again, put a Marine behind the wheel?
Yeah, of a race car. And would you ever have to ride left and right on it, just to make sure?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I don't think she's driving yet in the series here. We have a beneficiary. I'm going to call her out. Her name's Rachel Terry. And she was at Indy, and she's been with SRO for the entire season, working in tech with the tech team. And we had a chat the other day, and I said, so, what are your plans, and so on. And she said, well, I don't know. I said, well, have you tried the iRacing? Yeah, I want to do that. I said, there's a possibility that if you're good at it, we could get you into a Skip Barber racing school. And she said, what? Really? I'm in. So, yeah, we could get... You do know that we had Liam Dwyer drive for us in 2018 in Wales, right?
I did not know.
Yeah, Liam, we were sort of the re-entry for Liam back into sports car racing after he had the titanium rod put into his femur. We actually, through Long Road Racing, had a sequential gearbox put into a MX-5 Global Cup car, and they made an exception for us because there's no sequential gearboxes allowed in the Race of Remembrance. But unfortunately, it is Liam's left leg that's missing, so he cannot push a clutch more than twice in a stint. So they allowed us to use a sequential gearbox for Liam. Quite an interesting story.
That's an incredible concession there, and really nice of them to actually help support that. Obviously, we're seeing more and more drivers with different abilities, of course, ending up in racing the highest tiers as well. So it's fantastic to see that racing as a series, and not just one series, but all the sport, is embracing differently abled drivers. In that these guys who, hell, I've seen people go back into combat with prosthetic legs. It's incredible what people can achieve. You think that someone is disabled? No. Differently abled, yes. They're not disabled. These people will kick your behind. Don't think about it twice. Incredible.
I watched Adam Poppenhaus slinging tires in Sebring, and from a wheelchair. Exactly that.
Got a bit of a moment on the screen there. In fact, I believe that was unfortunately Adam Poppenhaus. Hey, well, he's backwards now, so there is that.
So Rachel, when are we going to see you over at Race Remembrance? We are doing a documentary this year, and the race is broadcast live. You sure you don't want to join John Hindau in Radio Le Mans and broadcast it for us live on location?
Oh, that is an incredible offer. I've only ever worked with John before in the virtual world, but I unfortunately have a work commitment that weekend. I was just talking about that to Chris. He'd already offered to help you guys out with some pit reporting. I'm incredibly sorry I can't, but that is incredibly generous of you guys. Oh God, that is a hard thing to say no to. If I didn't already have work I had to do that weekend, I would, but thank you very much there, Diesel. Either way,
thank you, Rachel.
No, thank you very much for coming and talk to us a second time. It was incredibly lovely to talk to you, and hopefully you enjoyed the rest of the race. And it's, as always, a pleasure to be able to commentate this series for you guys. It is one of the highlights of my week.
Thanks, Rachel. We love listening to you, and thanks for all the effort you put in for us to make this such a great broadcast.
That's all on you guys. And everybody listening, this was Diesel Lauder, the CEO of Operation Motorsport. Thank you, Diesel.
Thanks, Rachel.
Well, back to the racing action. We've had a bit of turmoil going off there as we've been talking to Diesel a second time. So you got it all on screen, at least. You're able to see everything happening there. I just personally find it incredibly important, Josh, that we talk about the mission here at Operation Motorsport, because it is about that mission. The racing is a huge part of that, but it's what the racing is doing that makes such a big difference. And it's incredible what these guys have achieved.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, that's the reason we're all here, is for the mission, for the end goal of Operation Motorsport. Yes, the competition is great. Yes, it is great to see these drivers running around these virtual tracks and, competing for those wins. And we talk about, how competitive this series is. But at the end of the day, there's a greater purpose for everybody to be here, and it's what we have to focus on every time that we go live and every time that we go racing for each race, each season of Operation Motorsport, because as the tagline is, excite, engage, and empower. That's the reason we're all here.
It absolutely is. And well, we're seeing things shift up a little bit. Greg Meissman leading the way right now in beneficiary. We're still seeing the pit cycles go through, but of course we did see the incident for Adam Poppenhaus a few moments ago. That has set him back somewhat here, leaving him in a bit of a hole. See if we can recover that one. You talked about the Air Force earlier. Adam Poppenhaus, I believe, is actually no. Oh God, I'm so sorry. No, he's Army. That was an insult. We've got the replay there actually showing what happened to him a moment ago. Getting himself back out on track and doing what he needs to do, but he will hopefully try and catch up here. We'll see what he can do. He's a very fast driver. We hope to see him recover some of that ground. Jesse Elliott is leading the way for the open class at the moment. Connor Parisi and Meissman there racing together, but I believe Parisi is actually not too far away from Meissman, so we'll see him if he can do that. Utzon and Elliott really close together. Poppenhaus behind that group, Chartier just behind him. Up at the front, it's still Nelson from Reeve Guillemette there. Matt Smotherman down the order, but we are seeing pit cycles, so we'll have to play this one by ear and see how this goes through. The GT3 cars on a different sequence slightly.
And the interesting thing that I'm looking at, Rachel, just taking a look up on my timing tower, is that Matt Smotherman came down twice. He came down once for a normal scheduled pit stop at around the normal time, But then Smotherman came down a second time for a pretty lengthy stop of, taking a look at it again. It was 29.2 seconds in the box compared to, seems like an average for the GT3s at about 15 seconds. And then total time on pit lane, 47.6. I'm not sure if he maybe got off track, got some damage on that car and had to come down and repair it. Very strange second pit stop for Matt Smotherman that has put him now relatively down the order when it comes to the GT3's 9th in class.
I'm sure it might not be a pit penalty that he may have picked up there.
Could have been.
I don't know if it was, but it might be. We'll have to try and find out information on that one for you guys, of course. But as this one will go through, we have managed to put 31 minutes on the book here tonight in our hour-long race. And as we get to the halfway point, we'll do a little quick rundown for these guys. We have Ed Nelson leading the way, Field Pro Field, with Tyler Glamet in second. Andrew Reeve in third, there with Joe Stiffel in fourth, Martin Wallace fifth, Rodney Campbell sixth, Scott Andrews in seventh, Jason McSparron in eighth, ninth is Matt Smotherman, Dan Fendick in 10th, Mary Gonzalez in 11th place there. Oh, big shunts at the exit there. I believe that's going to be Marlborough heading towards Vodafone there. That was a big bottle up by the guys we're about to talk about. Beneficiary leader Greg Meisler, second place for them is Connor Parisi, third place Adam Poppenhaus, fourth Philip Chartier, fifth is John Winker with sixth Brian Knight, seventh Elliot Whitfield, and then we have, of course, for the open class, Jesse Elliott leading the way there, with Thomas Itz in second place, Mike Sachs in third, Rick Haslett fourth, Brian Winker in fifth, Jake Porter in sixth, seventh is Adam Benaway, eighth Val Asensio, ninth is Chris Boschel, he's on pit road at the moment, and Tyler Reed in the 11th spot for that grouping. A very busy one so far, of course, with our pit sequencing going on here as they get themselves worked through at the moment. Let's not forget, of course, that we're going to touch on our driver spotlight at this point in the race. And tonight that is going to be Scott Andrews. Scott deployed 16 times as a joint terminal attack controller in support of various conventional and special operations units spanning a 16.5-year career throughout Afghanistan. It's an incredible number of deployments there. Highlight of his career was being with the 17th Special Tactics Squadron as a TAC-P, working, training and deploying with the 1st Ranger Battalion 7 out of the 16 times. He loved every second. Now he's a skydive coach and teaches civilians and law enforcement how to shoot, whilst also working as a technical instructor at a construction consulting company in Virginia. When he has a break in his schedule, he likes to take off his instructor hat and put on his student hat, learning how to do all things racing as an Operation Motorsport beneficiary, supporting the Skip Barber team. iRacing's fairly new to him, and it's a fantastic outlet for him and other veterans to learn, be challenged, and compete in a variety of very supportive environment via the partnership with iRacing and Operation Motorsport. He says, "I'm incredibly humbled by Opmo's support. Jason Leach donated a rig and Tyler Reed donated some nice pedals for him. He can't say enough times, thank you." That is, of course, Scott Andrews, who apparently can't get enough of the adrenaline still after 16 deployments. That's an incredible, important role there he has fulfilled in his career, supporting a lot of very brave people and being brave himself. Looking back at our race cars on track, the front of our field is going to be Greg Meisler, Connor Paris, and Jesse Elliott there. 3 cars on your screen. Bit of a breakaway for them. Behind them, solo, is Thomas Utzon, Adam Poppenhaus on his own as well. The rest of the field kind of split up behind them at the moment, Joshua. Lots of kind of the calm before the storm period, I think, in the race. We've seen these guys put it together pretty heavily in the last bunch of laps. Now we're seeing that kind of cycling through as the pit sequence kind of resets itself for the moment. We'll see if Poppenhaus can find more time on the track here. Last time by for him was a 1:44.546. Our leader, a 45.3. So he's moving. He's coming.
And I think at this point, we still have at least one more pit stop to come, maybe 2, because when these drivers came down pit road, I think it was a little bit past the 20-minute portion in this race, and maybe a couple drivers came down a little bit before that. We're seeing a handful of drivers now trying to work their way in. Adam Benaway, the guest car, comes down in for the USO, but we might see one more. If we see 2 more stops, I mean, that's really going to shake things up. But this battle, top of the beneficiary class with, of course, Jesse Elliott, still in a GT4, but a part of the open class, is sitting all close together under a blanket. 1, 2, 3 in the GT4s. Even after a cycle of pit stops, 1 cycle, they haven't spread themselves apart. What are they going to do in the second cycle?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to see what they do here. This is the middle sequence of the race where these guys have really set themselves onto that strategy, and we'll wait to see what they do with their second and final pit stop of the race here. Ed Nelson's been running strong though at the front of your pro field, absolutely uncontested right now. 6.6 seconds ahead of Tyler Guillemette, who has climbed up from 4th place on the grid. Hunter Reeve in 3rd from 5th on the grid, and Stiffle up from 6th, so some big movement from those guys. Wallace, Campbell, Andrews a little bit further back there, but they're getting themselves going on this one. As bit of dirt there. We like dirt apparently. We want to put a Joker lap into this race. We can.
Connor would like that.
That's the 11th of Parisi. Oh, I believe if I got my actual guys right this time round, I believe Parisi is the Air Force guy. So dirt is quite an unusual concept for him, I'm pretty sure.
He would like it in the virtual world, being a former competitor of the Rallycross World Championship. Yep. And I believe he also competed in the iRacing Off-Road World Championship. It's very bad. I don't know that 100%. I was a broadcaster on that series. Memory's a little fake.
Yeah. My memory gets weird. When you cover multiple race series, it can get very confusing.
Especially when I see Connor. I commentate Connor Parisi more than I really should. I think most of my broadcasts just happen to have Connor in them.
Yeah, absolutely. And just incredible driver in all things motorsport here. And the virtual world, an incredibly fast guy. We'll have to see what he can do with Greg Meismer, who's also really fast driver here. These guys have really put together some fantastic races this season, so we'll have to see what he can do. But that Mercedes of Connor is looking very hungry at the moment.
Great shot of these 3 as they work their way through turn number 8 on the track currently, through turn 9 as well, and into turn 10. You can see Parisi having a little bit of trouble trying to find a spot to get by Meismer. I mean, he gets close. We've seen him get side by side a handful of times, but he just hasn't been able to complete that pass, because it seems like every corner on this track, Rachel, you really have to commit to the pass. You can't really kind of just, you know, wait for the driver in front to make a mistake and then kind of just breeze on by, or you can't really make any passes, you know, on the straightaways here. You kind of have to really commit in the corner and commit to the braking zone if you want to get a pass done. And at this stage, 24 minutes still left to go. I don't think anybody's really willing to do that yet, especially with the risk of running off track and ruining your race.
I think that's absolutely the case here. They have to try and balance out where they're going with this and try and find that strategy and stick to it here. That's the important part. These guys have been at each other's throats the entire race long, including exiting pit road together on top of each other, basically. We saw back when they came out. They are glued together here as we see them running around the track once again. I believe we're going to be down to 23 minutes remaining here in this race, the final third coming up here. So we've got a retirement from Charles Burchell there from the open class. He's pulled that thing behind the wall. Tyler Reed also has, I believe, pulled it back as well. Unfortunate for those guys, but these will happen sometimes in racing. Going to be interesting to see what will really come from this one, though, Joshua. The guys at the front here. Now, this is our closest fight at the moment, and probably the biggest one we're going to see for a minute. They're really, really skirting with danger at times.
They are flirting with disaster pretty much every lap at this point, because Meismer leading, he's doing a good job of defending, but I don't think he's really trying to. I just think he's running the normal line at this track, and Parisi, albeit maybe a touch faster, he did run a faster lap time last time by about a 0.5. So I think Parisi has the speed to get by. He just needs to find a place to complete that pass. And Meismer, running the normal line, is doing the best defense that he possibly could. I mean, look at how thin that track is going through there. I mean, if we're running F4, F3 cars, you'll have a little bit of a better option. As battle for the GT3 lead has changed because Ed Nelson, I believe, made a mistake, went off track, and now he's in second place. Guillemette to the front.
He absolutely is. And we'll see what will happen with this here. Guillemette really pushing the numbers at the moment. He's got ahead of Nelson, which is big for him. Can he hold on to it though? Nelson's been strong all race. Can Guillemette do this one? I believe we had an issue though for for Ed Nelson. He was so far up the track. He lost 7 seconds this lap, so there has to have been an issue here for him. There was. He spun on his own in the believe that was coming down towards the curb. Got him, clipped the curb way too hard, and I think that was down at Marlborough. Yeah, Marlborough, and he just clipped that curb, went rumbling off the racetrack, and wow, that's the mistake that Guillemette needed. I think we've got some damage though, as possibly for Ed Nelson, because he is on pit road here. We'll have to see if he just used this as his pit stop. Yeah, Wallace in 2.
I think this is going to be
just a stop. Just a stop.
I think it's going to be the catalyst now to bring the rest of the drivers in for green flag stops.
That will likely be what we're going to see here. We'll have to see what happens next time by, but it's big for Tyler Guillemette there. 4th place now to the lead of this race for the Pro Field. It's going to be an impressive turn to see what he can do with it.
I'm looking back to see at what time point we started to see drivers come into the pit lane, because they can really split it up into 3 20-minute stints just about, and it seems like the first drivers started coming down after about 20 minutes, but they came in with at around 41 minutes to go, which would have been about 19 minutes into the race. So that would mean they pit now, they'd be just short. They would be maybe 2 minutes short, and they would have to try and either save that or come back in with like 3 laps remaining in this race as Guillemette comes in at 20 minutes 30. Guillemette might be good to the end. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely is. Yeah, no, this will be very telling as we see where this one unfolds to. That's Guillemette on pit road. Where will he cycle back out?
Connor Parisi was able to get by Greg Meismer. So it looks like Meismer might have had an issue as well. He fell now outside of the top 3. He's still in 3rd, but good gap now to Jesse Elliott in front. Good gap to Connor Parisi as well, as more GT3s come in. Here comes Rodney Campbell.
So he does. We'll have to see these guys have to pit as well, so it's not out of sequence here for Guillemette, but we'll see where he shuffles back when this one gets itself sorted out with the dust. But we've got a lot of traffic here around Elliott, Parisi, and others. Meismer, I believe, has dropped back here. He's had an issue. Greg Meismer did this time by. I don't think we caught it on screen, but I think he had problems. It was 2 laps ago, maybe. He was at the front of that grouping, but yeah, no, he's dropped back to 3rd in that line. A little bit further as well. Maybe possible damage.
Not sure what happened to Meismer. I'm not seeing anything in the event viewer jumping out, and that is Dan Fendick going around in the 327.
That is Dan Fendick there. Yeah, he did. The 25. Elliott. Yeah, he got Elliott, the leader of the open class, got dunked by one of the backmarker pros. That's unfortunate. Elliott's back on track, and he's lost some time, but Thomas Utzon is ahead of him now. Oh, it's unfortunate for Elliott.
Here's the replay now. What happened to Fendick? Did Fendick make a mistake, or was this contact from behind? Is a GT4 coming? And Fendick tried to let him go by, and Elliott did not leave that much room on the inside.
No, I don't know why he slowed down. That doesn't make a lot of sense. You're in the faster car. Keep it pegged. Just, you're ahead of them. I don't know why he slowed down.
That is
it's confusing.
An interesting one.
Yeah, because it wasn't Fendick's fault. It was kind of an on-track miscommunication issue, but I don't understand why he slowed down there to let them pass the outside of a corner's apex. Because he basically parked on the apex there. So I'm quite unsure as to what that was about. I know he's not in the same race they're in. Obviously, they're leading their groups, but they're a slower class. He could have just kept going.
On the GT3 side of things, specifically talking about strategy, we're in an interesting game now because we have the top 3, not including Dan Fendick and Mario Gonzalez, who are both 1 lap down, but Reeves, Stifle, and Andrews all have not pit yet. This is going to be the pit lap for Reeve, with 17 minutes to go. I think Reeves, Stifle, and Andrews might be good to the end, and I think Nelson looks to be safe. I think Guillemette might be safe, but I mean, Smotherman still needs to pit for a third time now. And I believe Martin Wallace, Rodney Campbell back from there. They might not be good to the end, depending on how much fuel they were able to fit in those fuel tanks.
It will be quite interesting to find out. We know they have a fuel limit on the car, so they can't take that much, but it's going to be very interesting to see when and if they have to pit again. How close is it? Can you fuel save and skip it? Maybe he didn't get fuel on his first stop for Smotherman. Maybe that's what cost him the time. Maybe he had to come back in again, but I don't know what could have caused that unless it was a penalty, meaning he's just lost the extra time there. So it's a tough one to really call here. Back in our beneficiaries group, Parisi here under attack by, that's going to be Utzon behind. That's not Utzon, I don't think. It's not Utzon, no. Or Meisman, he's running on his own. That's the 29 machine, I think, behind him, which is a lap down machine. That's Benaway. So Parisi on a run of his own here. That big race we had at the front of that group has really slowed down here and split apart. Interesting.
15 minutes left as well, and now we're seeing the GT4s come in. Jesse Elliott, did he miss his pit box? He just went right through the pit lane, didn't even bother stopping.
I guess he missed and kept going. That's unfortunate timing for him as well. Elliott maybe got a penalty? I don't know. That's a curious one. Oh, I think we just had Benaway just dumped himself off the racetrack behind him there. That was not Benaway. No, I'm incorrect there. I'm trying to work out who that was that had that little moment behind our group leader there. It was behind Elliott. I'm trying to work out who that was.
Smotherman's in the GT3 field now. Third and final stop for Smotherman. He was back inside of the top 5 too, Rachel, which is upsetting now because Smotherman's just going to fall right back into the clutches of the GT3 field, possibly go one lap down here as well. If he stays on the lead lap, he's going to go down to back half of the top 10, which for Smotherman, the driver who was so fast that he had to get graduated up to the pros, being down back half of the top 10, not a familiar spot for the 84, but he does come out about 1.3 seconds back of Scott Andrews, so he will have a bit of a battle now.
He certainly will. Now, that was John Winker, one of the beneficiaries you saw had that moment there, but yeah, we'll have to see what Smotherman can do, of course. He's been challenged a lot more in the pro class. He hasn't won every race. He's won one, I believe, one or two, but he's really been amongst peers, I think, in terms of speed there with the guys up in the pro class. So it's been a good move for the organizers there to put him up with that grouping, because last season, before the beneficiary class, it was every week Matt Smotherman, so little too fast for that grouping, I believe. Car trying to rejoin here. It's one of the USO machines, I think. That is the 29 of Winker. Must be having some issues there with that car.
Rodney Campbell also with some issues. He falls down the order a couple of spots to P8. Let's Andrews and Smotherman go. Let's see what happened to Rodney Campbell here as well. Of course, one of our GT3 Pro drivers. Working his way through one of the toughest portions, this first sector. We've seen a lot of trouble here. Just dips it into the grass and loses all the grip in those tires. Rachel ends up going around. Luckily, in the iRacing service, you can't really get stuck in that sand on the outside. He just slightly grazes it, keeps on rolling.
Yeah, he does, and well, he managed to keep it moving, which is the important part there. We've seen some real turmoil in these last few minutes on the racetrack. It's made things a lot more interesting for our drivers and how they shake out. Now, our standings is interesting here because I'm looking at what we've got in terms of last race. Meisner won, we had Winker, we had Knight up there, so that shook things around a little bit, but we'll have to see where the points do shake out in the end. It's not really about the points, of course, it's about the taking part, but I'm sure we'll find out by the end of the race. We'll let you guys know. A little bit more about Operation Motorsport, though. We talked to Diesel, of course, a couple of times today, but this is them. Operation Motorsport is a veteran-led and operated not-for-profit based in Brighton, Ontario, and Raleigh, North Carolina. They serve American and Canadian service members and veterans and were founded on the basis of 3 simple words: excite, engage, and empower. The premise is to engage ill and injured service members and veterans affected by military service through motorsport activities to aid in their recovery and rehabilitation. To find out more information, please visit operationmotorsport.org. That is operationmotorsport.org. Do go and take the website a quick looky-loo there. As Parisi onto pit road here from our beneficiary lead and the lead of the GT4 field. It's going to be his final stop here, I think, with 11 minutes to go. He's going to be short stinting this to the end, so this should just be a fuel-only stop we expect for him, so it could be a pretty quick one as well.
And here is that Aston Martin Vantage GT4 of Greg Meismer that is going to try and work his way and get by. This is one of the newest cars when it comes to the GT4 ladder on the iRacing service. This brand new Aston Martin Vantage machine. Lean, mean Aston Martin. Something great about the design of those Aston Martins, especially when they're on a racetrack. And then the Mercedes AMG GT4, Connor Parisi. Oh, this is going to be a close one on exit. Can Parisi hold it around the outside for Meismer? Battle for the beneficiary class lead. Parisi holds on, but they're still side by side.
They absolutely are here. That is going to be tight. Meismer and Parisi. Meismer, I believe, has pitted, I think. Take a look at his lap times here. Yeah. We'll find out. But yeah, I think he has. In fact, yeah, he has just pitted. So this is going to be quite telling to see what will happen now. They are on the same strategy now, and they're on top of each other on the racetrack. So this is going to be great racing.
I'll tell you what, Meismer pitted 3 laps ago. Connor Parisi with an amazing undercut on Greg Meismer because he even had about 3 seconds longer in the box and about 3 seconds longer in pit lane total time. And Parisi is still able to get over Greg Meismer. Great strategy from Connor Parisi to hold the lead, even with longer time spent down in the pit lane.
Yeah, it certainly is. So we'll have to see how this one will run to the end of the race, because that's changed what we're expecting to see quite dramatically. We'll see a race here for the beneficiary win in this one. Connor Parisi and Greg Meismer there. Ed Nelson back at the front of the race here. He started on pole, he's back leading. Hunter Reeve just under 2 seconds behind him there, from 5th on the grid. Joe Stifler from 6th, he's in 3rd. For the open class, it's Thomas Udsen there, who's inherited that after the incident with Elliott. Elliott 2nd, and Rick Haslett is in 3rd. For that grouping there. But Parisi and Elliott, or Meismer, sorry, I should say, neck and neck here, one behind the other. And I believe that's going to be one of the GT3s ahead of them, just pulling through. That's Jason McSparron. How do you think this plays out if you're Greg Meismer? Joshua, what would you do here?
Honestly, now with 9 minutes left, it's all out push. I mean, we don't see too much tire wear when it comes to these GT cars. So run full on, try and catch Connor Parisi, because we know Meismer has the speed to do so. Even though they qualified about 2nd row of the GT4s, it was Jesse Elliott, Adam Poppenhaus that were on the front row to begin this race. Try all you can to catch up. That's really all they can do now, as Scott Andrews just got turned around in our GT3s.
Yeah, Scott Andrews did, unfortunately for him. Getting that car back going though. He'll keep it on the racetrack. Replay for you here. And I'm thinking this was a single incident for him.
He was already loose, working his way through 9, and there through 10, he just lose it.
Oh, he kept it straight. It was kind of half a spin. The curb straightened him up again. But yeah, the car looked a little shaky for him before that, because we saw him moving back and forth. It did not look like he was having a great time there, so possibly just missed his marker and tried to turn in more than anything else. I think he was just maybe checking something or working something in the car. We will find out though. Connor Parisi still leading the gap with Greg Meismer. It has widened, so Parisi has seen the writing on the wall here and is going for this thing. He wants to keep this gap up, and I believe, don't quote me here, but I believe if Parisi wins, he will take the unofficial Operation E Motorsport Into Service Championship for the Air Force. Because unfortunately, Army's been doing badly this season. They're down on 6 points. Yeah, Air Force and Marines currently tied on 8 each, which is fantastic to see. the Space Force, they're on minus, I think, 30 at this point for existing. And the Coast Guard are on 10 for being really good helpers. So, yeah, no one's actually run from the Coast Guard yet, so it doesn't really count, but still. It's an honorary 10 points for saving people's lives. It's important. Navy's on 0. Big fat life ring for them. Apparently sailors can't drive. Who knew?
They're not used to driving on solid land.
No, I think that must be it. Yeah, if we make it a boat race, I think that'll be good. But I actually don't know if we have any Navy beneficiaries in the series, so that'd be interesting to find out if we do, of course. But so far, the fast guys have been from the Air Force, the Marines, and the Army. And it will be Connor Parisi bringing that home for them if he gets the opportunity. Jesse Elliott's car has seen better days there. That is no bueno. And he misses his pit box in the boot as well. Or to boot. We'll see what happened to him now. Coming down. And he looks like he's... Oh, got the dirt. Oh. That's not good. That's not going to buff out. Not even slightly.
That was just at such a bad time for Jesse Elliott to do that in a bad spot on the track. He is able to use a quick repair and get back onto the track. One of the things that we don't touch on too much in this series, I don't think we've touched on it all season, unlimited fast repairs for these drivers. So it really does show that, yes, it is competitive, but everybody's here to compete. Everybody's here to participate and have a good time. So wad the car up. As long as you make it back to the pit lane, you're able to get a fresh one as Scott Andrews takes a trip through the dirt.
He absolutely does, and well, we'll have to see how they go forward from here for that. But Andrews glad to get up again. I've seen a lot of guys hitting the dirt recently. I think these tires are maybe catching a bit of the age going on, but as it stands, Parisi's gap is still honest and open. Meisman behind him has not managed to gain any ground. In fact, he's lost a little bit. We have just over 5 minutes on the board here before we come to the end of this season. And it's been a wild season. We've had some fantastic racing, we've had some big moments, and we've had some absolute surprise endings. And a couple of guys running out of fuel as well, getting very graciously pushed across the line. Last one only being last week for the open class, I think, podium result there. One of the guys gets pushed across the line by one of the pro drivers after they'd run out of fuel in the final kind of infield section of Indianapolis. So very sporting series. I don't think I've seen people helping people across the line in any other series myself, but it's great to see. I've seen it twice now in this series. These guys are all out here to have fun, and it really shows.
And now we have a battle for the GT3 lead with about 4.5 minutes left. Nelson versus Reeve, and the big question mark, who's good to the end, who's not? With 4 minutes left, they'll come across the line. I think maybe, so at about 90 seconds, a little bit more than that per lap. I think we're going to be looking at roughly, quick maths, maybe 3 to go this time by just about. Do they have 3 laps left in the tank? I mean, it wouldn't be that long, 14 laps. It seems like a very, very short stint, but with only about 40% capacity in these fuel tanks, so that normally being a 30-minute race versus 60, we might see a couple of drivers start dropping down into the pit lane with some empty tanks.
We might indeed, so we'll have to see how they can put this one together at the end of the race and what the strategy has paid off for them. We really will see about this, because it's going to be coming down to the wire, and I think that fuel could mean more than we thought it was going to mean. Really going to be interesting to see if that will be a deciding component here. Do our leaders have enough fuel? Will that change? Will they maybe have to splash? We think everyone's good based on the numbers we've seen so far. Nelson, his time has been eaten away. Reeve was down to 1 second here. That could change. 5 minutes, that could absolutely disappear.
Down to 3 minutes is Mario Gonzalez and Dan Fendick, the only 2 GT3s that are not on the lead lap with the rest of their class. They do, however, have their own battle brewing, with Fendick in 10th, Gonzalez in 11th, 8/10ths separating those two. But that lap down battle is going to be the closest one on the racetrack since that second round of green flag pit stops. Everybody has spread themselves out, and there's your current GT3 leader in Ed Nelson. He'll be taking 2 to go this time by the start finish.
They will indeed. 2 to go now here at Zandvoort, and it's been a very busy hour from what we've seen on track. A very busy hour indeed. Reeve is right behind Nelson there, and there is traffic ahead of them. This could happen in 2 laps. I don't know what's going to come from this, but it could change things. Mario Gonzalez there, back of your pro field, is in that grouping ahead there. Parisi's on his own here. The gap to Meisman has widened. That's looking pretty safe there. Hudson not under attack from anybody at the moment. Poppenhaus really hasn't managed to recover much. This 1 second gap here is going to be what we're looking at though between, and the traffic is a big one. Look at him, he's right behind Nelson there. This could change in these final moments.
Are they going to run out of fuel? Is Reeve going to be able to pass Nelson? GT4 traffic up ahead. This is what you love to see after an hour of racing. 2 overall leaders in the GT3s are on each other's bumper with traffic in front, and GT3 traffic at that. Oh, and the GT4 got spun. That's Jake Porter.
There's Jake Porter. Will keep with the action though. Oh, it's side by side. A wobble by the 996 of Nelson. It has them side by side here through Vodafone, and it is coming down to the absolute wire now. Hunter Reeve smells blood in the water, and he's going for this thing. You're dropping down towards the Audi S, and we'll see. There's going to be 1 more lap, I think. Still, they will get 1 more lap here, but oh, the pressure is on here. On board there with Reeve, looking onwards towards that Porsche, the target of Ed Nelson. Can he take this away at the last second from your pole sitter? The moment the most laps led in this race. Can he snatch victory? Will that car ahead cause an issue? Is the draft going to help Ed? No, it will not. He'll get well out of the way. But the draft will be there for Hunter Reeve. Switch back and forth, gets along the outside. The outside can work here around 1. He has to commit though and throw it in hard. Can he do it? He's got ahead at the edge of the corner, and he'll have the switchback line. He takes it in turn 1. Big move for Hunter Reeve there in that final lap. This is when it had to happen, and boom, confetti, he's done it. Can he hold it?
Does Ed Nelson have anything to respond? 10 seconds remaining on the clock. They took the white flag last time by. It'll be checkered flag this time. And Hunter Reeve puts a 4/10 gap over the 996 of Ed Nelson behind. But look at that BMW GT4 in front. They've still got traffic they've got to deal with. White flag shows. The GT4 moves out of the way. Nelson's able to cut into the gap by 2/10. And now where Hunter Reeve was able to make that move in turn 1, Nelson's not going to be able to. He's got to make it before the end of this lap. Nelson looks to the wide angle, but now as they work their way through 10, Nelson's got to hope in a hard braking zone. He's able to do it, but he goes wide.
Yeah, he went so wide there, and that's going to cost him time there. I think he wants to cut back in for a sharp exit, gain some speed, but he just didn't quite hook the apex there, and it cost him a lot. Has he got anything left in these final corners here? It's down to the wire. Will this be Hunter Reeve's breakaway victory in this last lap? Absolutely monumental there for him. Gets it done when it needs to happen. Reeve, of course, a beneficiary of Operation Motorsport, so we're getting a beneficiary winning in 2 classes tonight. And he will have it to the line. Hunter Reeve for the pro field, beneficiary of Operation Motorsport. Down behind him, Connor Parisi has still got 1 more lap to complete, I believe, because he was ahead of the leaders when they came across the line. He does indeed, so we're going to get another lap, I think, for those guys.
Martin Wallace was in 4th for the GT3s, and you can see that Ferrari has slowed.
Meisman's right behind him, by the way.
Did he run out of fuel?
Maybe. Guillemette. No, Guillemette's across the line. That's 5th place. That'd be Wallace. Yes, I think he's out. Oh, he is. He's crawling. Oh, heartbreak. Will we get someone to help him across the line here?
13 laps on the stint counter was good for Ed Nelson. It was not good for Martin Wallace. There goes Rodney Campbell on by. I don't know if he's going to get any help. It's going to be a while before anybody that had already finished the race comes back by.
Yeah, it is. That is so unfortunate for him. He's going to drop down that running order there. Past will go Jason Gasparin. Thank you very much, he says. A couple more guys coming through here, but oh, wow. Back to our leaders for beneficiary. Connor Parisi there. Good gap over Meisman. I don't think that will affect things here. Poppenhaus will get a podium, though. 3rd place for him. A good recovery. As they'll come through the Audi S now. Only 1 sequence left, and it's the end of the season, the end of the race for those guys. Absolutely amazing season we've had here at Operation Motorsport. Incredibly happy to see how this all works, but that was great to see. Did he make it across the line? I don't think he did in the end there. Wallace did not cross the line. Parisi does, though, in the win. Meismer comes home in second. Utzon will come across the final corner to the line to win the open class. And behind them, Poppenhaus, I believe, has finished. I don't know if he has. I don't think he has. But he's not showing on track. Well, folks, we'll get our final results in a moment, but we will take a short break. We'll be back with your post-race results and interviews, so don't go anywhere.
On Remembrance Veterans Day weekend, November 2022, Operation Motorsport is returning to Anglesey Circuit, Wales, United Kingdom to compete in the 12-hour Race of Remembrance. This event allows our beneficiaries to compete as a team, shoulder to shoulder, with other veterans and racers. We want to use this opportunity to honor your hero service. And for a $25 donation, we will place your hero's name on the hood of our race car. 100% of the donations received will be used to support our Race of Remembrance operation. Help us honor 500 heroes and donate today.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn them. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
To Circuit Park Zandvoort, we have our post-race results for you here. And it has been a great race here in the Netherlands. Coming home with the win in Pro, Hunter Reeve with Ed Nelson in second place, Joe Stiffel in third, Tyler Gilmet in the fourth spot, Matt Smotherman in fifth, with Rodney Campbell sixth, Scott Andrews seventh, eighth is Jason McSparron, Martin Wallace in ninth, 10th, Mario Gonzalez, and Dan Fendick in 11th. Behind them, it is going to be Connor Parisi winning for the beneficiaries with Greg Meismer there. Thomas Itzen winning for the open class. Poppenhaus third for the beneficiaries. Mike Sachs is, I believe, technically in second for the open class with Jesse Elliott in third. Rick Haslett in the fourth place. Fifth is John Winker. Then we have Brian Winker, Philip Chartier, Val Asensio, Jake Porter, Brian Knight, Adam Benaway, the USO driver, Elliot Whitfield, Tyler Reed, and Charles Bochelle. Well, we've got a chance to chat to our drivers now from the race, and first up, of course, is going to be Mr. Connor Parisi. Connor, a fantastic drive today for you for the beneficiary class. The final race, an hour long, 2 pit stops, and some interesting moments out there on the racetrack today.
Yeah, we had a couple close calls with a couple of different people. GT3s, GT4s, lap traffic, racing for position. That was a wicked fun race.
It certainly looked like it from our English. I'm having a stroke. It looked like it from our position. Just how was it kind of working to the plan of the fuel for a race like this with an hour and 2 stops and the limitations you had?
I came in thinking I wasn't going to do any fuel calculations, so I was just planning on taking 2 full stops, and that was purely just to let my tires cool because this track was really eating them and heating them up. So I figured I was just going to take my time on pit road, let the tires cool down. Luckily, there was some extracurriculars right behind me going into the last pit stop, so I had plenty of a buffer to to actually do that plan. So it all worked out at the end.
Certainly seems like it did. I believe you have actually clutched this for the Air Force, by the way, in the unofficial services championship. So good one there. And I believe you actually had some of the most wins this season. So if we actually had points, you would have won, I think.
Yeah, I had 2 DNSs and 1 second, and then the rest were for wins. So it was a great year. Happy to take the W for the Air Force. I believe I told you guys last season that I would be doing that. So it's good to back that up.
Well, you obviously didn't have Matt Smotherman in the way there with the rampage he had, of course. But yeah, he's up to pro class, and you guys have really got a great group of drivers down here. Just how is it for you as a beneficiary of Operation Motorsport to be involved not only in the real life stuff but with the guys here?
Oh, it's great. Looking forward to Tuesday nights and knowing you're going to have a good battle with a good bunch of dudes. It's always it's great to be a part of a community like this.
It's so good to hear. Anybody you'd like to give a shout out to or thank?
I got to thank, obviously, all the Operation Motorsports guys for putting on the series. Happy to be a part of it. Looking forward to the future. And everyone at Jim Beaver Esports, Apex Gaming PCs, Next Level Racing, Pimax, 10-7 Race Wraps. And thank you guys for putting on the show.
Oh, we're glad to have you, Connor. Connor Parisi coming home today with a win here at Zandvoort. Thank you, Connor. And next up, we have Joshua standing by with Gregory Meismer.
And Greg, it was a good race for you, but after that last cycle of pit stops, you end up second fiddle to Connor Parisi, but at the end of the day, still could have run second place. How was it from your end?
Oh, man, the pit exit had me real nervous for sure there when I tried to get around him after the last cycle, but it was a great season. Consistency, I think, won me the points championship. Didn't ever get a win, but a lot of P2s.
And throughout, of course, this season, what has it meant to you to run with Operation Motorsport and have some good success in these GT4s and run at a lot of great racing and a lot of great under the lights action as well?
I can't tell you how much I have to thank these guys. It's been an amazing 9 weeks. I'm excited to be activated coming up in the next season. See where that puts me, and yeah, we'll carry on from there. I'm so happy to be a part of this group, and thanks to you guys too.
What has it meant to race against other beneficiaries as well, running in this class, not only with, of course, the open guys in the GT4s, but also against other beneficiaries like yourself and having some good battles like you did tonight with Connor?
It's just, like I said before, it's a great group of guys, and also knowing that we all kind of come from the same background, it makes it a lot easier to kind of converse and share tactics a little bit in the Discord. So yeah, it's a great experience.
Congratulations on your second place tonight, Greg. Awesome job.
Thank you.
Great to hear from Gregory Meismer. Second place for him in the beneficiary class of the GT4s. And now, Rachel, we move on to our last of the podium finishers in the GT4s, Adam Poppenhaus.
We certainly do. Last but not least, Adam Poppenhaus. Very busy race for you and some unfortunate timing. Do you want to tell us what happened there?
Well, I think just a racing incident, but yeah, definitely some bad timing there. That was some bad luck, but that's part of racing. The good luck and bad luck, and there's so many pieces of parts that come together. Good race. So today we lost out a little bit.
It does happen, of course, but it's how you pick yourself up that matters and continue. And you've had some good wins this season, of course. A very busy year, and we've asked this of the other guys, but just what has Operation Motorsport meant to you?
To be completely honest with you, Operation Motorsport has changed my life. In such a positive and inspiring way, through the community that I've met and the support that I've gotten as a beneficiary. They're just truly near and dear to my heart. I really encourage all veterans out there to get in touch and see what kind of programs they offer. They are just an incredible organization doing some fantastic things.
We heard you were actually out at a race the other week, slinging tires.
Tires and fuel, man. Yeah, I got the opportunity to activate the Motorsports Immersion Program, go out to Sebring with Skip Barber race team, and we had a double win Sunday in TC, and got to pretty special moment to run across pit road and climb the fence and celebrate during the checkered flag. So that's definitely a special one that I'll keep in the memory bank for the entire time that I exist. It's just such a special experience.
That is so good to hear. Anybody you'd like to give a shout out to or thank before we let you go?
I have to mention Race to Race 22 and Resilience Racing. This past weekend, we had 3 amputees pilot a sport quad in an off-road race, and we made it 140 miles, ended up finishing first in class. It was the absolute scariest and the coolest thing I've ever done, but it wouldn't have all come together. It was quite an endeavor without Team Blind, Race to Race 22, and Resilience Racing.
That is awesome to hear. Adam Poppenhouse coming in today, 3rd in the beneficiary class. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. You guys do a fantastic job.
Well, we appreciate what you guys do as well. Well, last but not least at all, it is the winner from our pro class tonight, who also happens to be one of the beneficiaries of Operation Motorsport, Hunter Reeve. A very, very busy race for you, and you didn't lead until the last lap.
Yeah, the important one. Yeah.
Oh, the only important one, obviously. But
yeah. I don't think I've concentrated that hard in an iRacing race ever before, so that was tough. Very tough.
So, obviously, we've asked this to the other folks here tonight. As a beneficiary of this, the organization, just what has this meant to you?
I think it's a great gateway for people to get into motorsports, and we've seen that through every season we've done. We've had guys go from the sim to becoming beneficiaries at a track. And, I'm just so happy. This is something we have, to get guys into racing and then, ignite that flame.
A very important avenue for people, of course, with the experiences that everybody in Operation Motorsport has shared. Just how has it been, though, moving up to the Pro Series here, of course? Obviously, you were in the beneficiary class for quite a while. Season 5 moved you up as well as Matt Smotherman. How's it been racing the big boys?
It's tough. It's very tough. It's close every week, and it's qualifying. I think the top 5 was separated by 5 or 6 tenths, and that's it's the same through the whole season. So it was tough, but very rewarding to be able to get a couple of podiums and then finally win at this race.
Oh, that is awesome to hear. Anybody like to give a shout out to or thank before we let you go?
Yep, Skip Barber Racing School. That I learned a lot about doing passing, and I used a lot of that tonight. So, especially when with my battle with Ed, and big thanks to Tooth Autosport, AWS, Redcom, Shopify, everybody that's partnered with us for the iRacing side of things, and for all of us going to Wales next month.
Well, best of luck with the race to remembrance there. Hunter Reeve, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for always doing amazing broadcasts.
We wouldn't be able to do that without you guys.
No.
That was Hunter Reeve, winner of your pro class tonight. Well, folks, first off, thank you to the series partners of Operation New Motorsport, iRacing League, iRacing, and the USO of North Carolina. For Jason Leach, Diesel Loader, Chris Ramirez, and the entire Operation Motorsports team, for Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore at Podium Esports, camera builder Dougie Beard, for my colleague this evening, Joshua Lee, I'm your host, Rachel Whiteford. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of Operation New Motorsport iRacing League, and we wish you a good night. It has been a fantastic Season 5. We'll see you next time.